Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy my video, please click the like button and share the video. It is the only way the YouTube algorithms really notices me. I will be very grateful to you. The creeping dread that no one believes. Scary story published by Scare Fiction. Read for you by Scare Fiction. Chapter 1. The Unease. The scent of freshly cut grass and blooming honeysuckle hung heavy in the air as Sarah pushed her lawnmower across the emerald expanse of her suburban backyard. A picture of domestic tranquility, her life in Harmony Falls was a symphony of predictability. Every Tuesday was for grocery shopping, Wednesdays were reserved for book club meetings, and weekends were spent curled up with a good novel and a steaming mug of chamomile tea. Today, however, the familiar whir of the mower felt off-putting, the rhythmic clip-clop, a monotonous counterpoint to the disquiet gnawing at Sarah's gut. It started the night before, a dream so vivid it clung to the edges of her waking mind like cobwebs. In it, she stood on the precipice of a rocky cliff overlooking the town square. A thick, unnatural fog rolled in, swallowing the quaint houses and manicured lawns whole. Then, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence, a sound that sent shivers down her spine even now. Dismissing it as an overactive imagination, fueled by last night's spicy chili, Sarah steered the mower towards the flower bed bordering the patio. But as she rounded the corner, a glint of metal caught her eye, half buried in the freshly turned soil. Reaching down, she brushed away the dirt, revealing a tarnished silver locket. Its surface was etched with swirling patterns that sent a tremor of unease through her. It wasn't the locket itself that unsettled her. It was the inscription on the back, a single word, worn but clear: beware. A prickle of cold sweat erupted on her skin. The dream, the locket were, they connected. Harmony Falls wasn't known for hidden secrets or buried treasures. It was a town where everyone knew everyone, and the biggest scandal in recent memory was Mrs. Henderson's prize-winning pumpkin being disqualified for exceeding the weight limit at the fall festival. Sarah clutched the locket, its cool metal sending a jolt through her. Maybe it was just a relic from some forgotten yard sale, a discarded trinket with no deeper meaning. Yet, the unease wouldn't dissipate. The dream's scream echoed in her mind, and the inscription on the locket felt like a chilling premonition. Pushing the unsettling thoughts aside with a forced laugh, Sarah tossed the locket onto the porch swing, its dull gleam mocking her attempt at normalcy. The rest of the afternoon crawled by. The rhythmic drone of the mower now sounded ominous, the scent of honeysuckle cloying. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of the house seemed to hold a hidden meaning. As dusk settled, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Sarah found herself staring at the discarded locket with a growing sense of dread. Harmony Falls may have been a place of predictable routine, but for the first time, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something wicked lurked beneath the surface, a creeping unease that threatened to shatter the illusion of normalcy. Chapter 2. Whispers in the Wind. The locket sat on the porch swing, a constant reminder of the unease that had settled in Sarah's gut like a bad burrito. Sleep, usually a welcome escape, offered no solace. The dream returned, more vivid this time. She stood on the cliff again, the fog thicker, obscuring everything but the faint outline of a figure shrouded in darkness. This time, the scream didn't pierce the silence. It was a guttural whisper, indecipherable but laced with malice. Waking with a gasp, Sarah found herself bathed in the pale moonlight filtering through her window. The clock on her nightstand blinked an accusing 3:14 a.m. Exhaustion gnawed at her, but the dream's chilling residue wouldn't let her drift back to sleep. The following days were a blur of disquiet. The once familiar sounds of Harmony Falls took on a menacing edge. The rhythmic thud of a neighbor's basketball against the backboard morphed into a pounding heartbeat. The playful barks of a golden retriever echoed with a sinister growl. Sarah found herself flinching at every shadow, every unexpected movement. Desperation gnawed at her. She needed to confide in someone, to share the unsettling feeling that had taken root in her mind. Her first thought was Emily, her best friend since childhood. Emily, with her infectious laugh and unwavering optimism, would surely be able to chase away the shadows. Over steaming cups of chamomile tea in Emily's sun-drenched kitchen, Sarah poured out her heart. She described the dreams, the locket, the creeping unease that threatened to consume her. But as the words tumbled out, she saw a flicker of concern morph into amusement in Emily's eyes. "Oh, Sarah," Emily chuckled. "You've been working yourself too hard. Maybe you need a vacation, some time to relax and recharge." Sarah felt a wave of frustration wash over her. Didn't Emily understand? It wasn't just exhaustion. It was a tangible fear, a chilling certainty that something was terribly wrong. "But Emily," she pleaded, her voice trembling, "don't you find it weird? The dream, the locket, everything feels so off." Emily placed a comforting hand on Sarah's arm. "Honey," she said gently, "sometimes stress can play tricks on your mind. Maybe you should see Dr. Thompson, just to rule out anything medical." Sarah left Emily's house, feeling more alone than ever. The seed of doubt Emily had planted began to take root. Was she overreacting? Was it all in her head? Later that evening, as Sarah watered her petunias, a sudden gust of wind whipped through the yard, sending shivers down her spine. It wasn't just the wind, though. A low, guttural whisper, the same one from the dream, seemed to ride on the breeze. She spun around, heart pounding, but saw nothing but the swaying branches of the old oak tree at the edge of her property. The whisper lingered in the air, a chilling confirmation of her growing fear. Harmony Falls might look like a picture-perfect postcard town, but Sarah knew, with a bone-deep certainty, that something sinister lurked beneath the surface. And she was the only one who seemed to hear its unsettling call. Chapter 3: Slipping Through the Cracks. The whisper echoed in Sarah's mind long after the wind died down. Sleep offered no escape, the dream returning with a vengeance. This time, the figure on the cliff was closer, its shadowed form radiating a palpable sense of malice. The scream finally arrived, a blood-curdling shriek that tore through Sarah's subconscious and left her gasping for breath. Morning brought a suffocating sense of isolation. Emily's dismissal had chipped away at Sarah's confidence. Was she truly losing her grip on reality? The whispers seemed to follow her everywhere, in the hiss of the coffee maker, the rustle of turning pages at the library, even the murmurs of the wind through the vents of her car. Withdrawal became her shield. Social gatherings, once a source of comfort, now felt like forced merriment. The concerned glances and whispered conversations only fueled her paranoia. She retreated further into her own world, a world where the lines between reality and the unsettling dreams blurred with each passing day. Desperate for a rational explanation, Sarah made an appointment with Dr. Thompson, a well-respected therapist in Harmony Falls. She recounted her experiences, the dreams, the whispers, the omnipresent sense of dread. Dr. Thompson listened patiently, his expression neutral, his eyes holding a mixture of concern and skepticism. When she finished, he offered a reassuring smile. "Sarah," he said, "stress can manifest in strange ways. You mentioned a demanding job and upcoming deadlines. Perhaps these experiences are a way for your subconscious to express your anxieties." Sarah wanted to argue, to explain the chilling certainty that this wasn't just stress. But Dr. Thompson's words resonated with the seeds of doubt planted by Emily. Maybe he was right. Maybe she was overreacting. Leaving the therapist's office, a strange sense of relief battled with the gnawing unease in her gut. As she walked down the sidewalk, a flicker of movement at the corner of her eye caught her attention. A dark figure, shrouded in shadow, emerged from an alleyway. It was gone in a flash, but the memory of its cold, inhuman eyes sent shivers down her spine. Back at home, Sarah tried to focus on her work, to drown out the whispers and the growing doubt. Yet, the image of the shadowy figure clung to her mind. Was it real, or just another figment of her stressed imagination? Suddenly, a loud thump resonated from the living room. Heart pounding, Sarah grabbed a baseball bat, the only weapon readily available. Cautiously, she crept towards the source of the sound. The furniture was overturned. A vase lay shattered on the floor. But there was no one there. Only an eerie silence that seemed to press in on her, suffocating and thick. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. Was she truly losing her mind? Or was something else, something sinister, at play in Harmony Falls? As Sarah surveyed the wreckage of her living room, a single, chilling thought echoed in her mind. She was no longer alone. The whispers had become a voice, and it was getting closer. Chapter 4. The Unbeliever. The overturned furniture in her living room served as a brutal confirmation. Sarah wasn't crazy. Something or someone wanted her to know it was present. Fear, cold and sharp, clawed at her throat, but it was tinged with a sliver of defiance. She wouldn't go down without a fight. First, she needed help. Emily's skepticism stung, but Sarah knew she couldn't give up on her friend. Armed with shaky determination, she dialed Emily's number. As it rang, a low growl seemed to emanate from the corner of the living room, sending chills down her spine. "Sarah, what's wrong?" Emily's voice, laced with concern, came through the receiver. Relief flooded Sarah, momentarily pushing back the fear. She poured out everything, the whispers, the dreams, the ransacked living room. Silence followed, then a hesitant sigh. "Sarah," Emily began gently, "I still think you should see a specialist. Maybe a neurologist who can rule out any underlying medical conditions." Disappointment gnawed at Sarah, but she understood. Emily wasn't equipped to deal with this. Frustrated and alone, Sarah hung up. If she couldn't convince her closest friend, who would believe her? Desperate for answers, Sarah turned to the town library. Harmony Falls wasn't a place steeped in history, but perhaps a local legend, a forgotten tale, could shed light on the source of the dread. She spent hours scouring dusty archives, her fingers tracing faded newspaper clippings and brittle town records. Then, nestled in a forgotten corner of the local history section, she found it. A leather-bound book titled Echoes of the Falls. Its pages whispered of a forgotten time, a time when a darkness hung over the town. It spoke of a malevolent entity, a shadow creature banished by a group of courageous settlers centuries ago. As Sarah devoured the book, a chilling sense of familiarity washed over her. The whispers, the figure in the dreams, it all fit perfectly with the description of the banished entity. But the book also offered a sliver of hope. If it had been defeated once, perhaps it could be again. Returning home, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. Armed with knowledge, she set about researching ways to combat the entity. But the whispers had intensified now, a constant malevolent murmur in her ear. And the once unseen entity started to leave its mark. The lights flickered ominously at night, doors creaked open on their own, and fleeting glimpses of a shadowy form flitted at the edge of her vision. Each occurrence chipped away at her sanity, her isolation becoming a suffocating cage. Trapped and helpless, Sarah clung to the flickering hope offered by the ancient book. She knew she had to stop the entity before it consumed her. But with no one believing her claims, and the malevolent presence growing bolder by the day, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, would she be the next victim of the forgotten horror, or could she find a way to banish the shadows before they engulfed Harmony Falls? Chapter 5. Echoes in the Attic. The whispers had become a constant, insidious chorus in Sarah's head. Sleep offered no respite, replaced by nightmares, where the shadows solidified into a monstrous form, its cold, inhuman eyes boring into hers. Despair threatened to engulf her, but a flicker of defiance remained. The book, Echoes of the Falls, was her lifeline, its faded pages a testament to a time when the darkness was vanquished. Determined to translate hope into action, Sarah began translating the archaic symbols etched into the book's margins. It was a slow, painstaking process, requiring late nights fueled by stale coffee and a gnawing fear that time was running out. One afternoon, a knock on the door startled her from her research. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she peered through the peephole. A stranger stood on the porch, a weathered face etched with skepticism and a glint of curiosity in his eyes. He introduced himself as Thomas, a descendant of one of Harmony Falls' original settlers. Hope flared in Sarah's chest. Perhaps this was the connection she desperately needed. She ushered him in, her hands trembling as she poured 2 mugs of lukewarm coffee. Hesitantly, she recounted her experiences, the dreams, the whispers, the living history book. To her surprise, Thomas didn't scoff. Instead, his eyes narrowed with a flicker of recognition. He confirmed the existence of the banished entity, a creature of shadow and dread known as the Whispering Woe. The book, he explained, was a guide left by his ancestors, a record of the rituals used to bind the entity. Relief washed over Sarah, a cleansing wave pushing back the despair. She wasn't crazy. This was real, and there was a way to fight back. Together, they pored over the book, deciphering the complex symbols and cryptic instructions. The ritual required rare herbs, a specific lunar phase, and a location steeped in the town's forgotten history, the abandoned mill on the outskirts of Harmony Falls. A surge of optimism coursed through Sarah. They had a plan, a glimmer of hope against the encroaching darkness. Yet, a chilling realization settled on her shoulders as they delved deeper. The ritual required a conduit, someone who could channel the entity's power and bind it back to its prison. Thomas looked at Sarah, his eyes holding a mix of concern and determination. It says, the conduit must be someone touched by the darkness, someone who can speak its language, he said softly. Sarah's blood ran cold. The whispers in her head intensified, almost mocking her. Had her desperation led her down a treacherous path? Had she become the very thing she sought to destroy? Fear threatened to cripple her, but the image of the ransacked living room, the chilling feeling of being watched, spurred her on. "I'll do it," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "I'll be the conduit." With a newfound resolve, Sarah and Thomas began preparations. The fate of Harmony Falls, it seemed, rested on a desperate gamble and a woman teetering on the edge of sanity. The whispers continued, but now they were met with defiance. The fight against the Whispering Woe had begun. Chapter 6. A Town Divided. News of Sarah's plan spread through Harmony Falls like wildfire. Whispers, this time of the humankind, took hold of the town. Most dismissed it as the ravings of a stressed-out woman. "Crazy Sarah," they muttered under their breath. The skepticism stung, but Sarah steeled herself. She had a job to do, and their disbelief wouldn't stop the shadows from creeping closer. Even Emily, her one remaining friend, expressed concern. "Sarah, this is madness," she pleaded. "You don't know what you're dealing with. Let the police handle it." Sarah understood Emily's fear, but she couldn't explain the ancient book, the whispering woe, or the certainty that grew stronger with each passing day. Harmony Falls wasn't just facing a stressed-out neighbor. Meanwhile, the whispering woe tightened its grip. The once muted whispers became a deafening chorus, filling Sarah's every waking moment. The shadows in her home seemed to writhe and twist, mocking her defiance. One night, she awoke to find a chilling inscription scrawled on her bathroom mirror: "You will be its vessel." Terror threatened to consume her, but Thomas, her unlikely ally, remained a pillar of strength. He procured the rare herbs from a reclusive herbalist on the outskirts of town. Together, they scoured the abandoned mill, its dilapidated structure a testament to Harmony Falls' forgotten past. The night of the ritual arrived, a sliver of a new moon hanging low in the inky black sky. Sarah, clad in white linen, felt a chilling fear gnaw at her resolve. Thomas, his face etched with worry, stood beside her, holding a lantern that cast flickering shadows across the dusty mill floor. A low growl echoed from the rafters, the air growing thick with an oppressive energy. The whispers intensified, swirling around Sarah, forming a dark, malevolent cloud. She closed her eyes, reciting the ancient incantation from the book, feeling a strange familiarity with the words. Suddenly, a wave of nausea swept over her. The shadows danced and writhed, threatening to engulf her. A scream tore from her throat, a primal cry of fear and defiance. But amidst the terror, a flicker of power coursed through her veins. It was the whispering woe, its essence momentarily intertwined with hers. The mill shuddered, dust raining down from the rafters. A monstrous form, all claws and teeth, materialized from the shadows, its cold, inhuman eyes fixated on Sarah. This was the entity in its true form, a chilling manifestation of pure dread. Townsfolk, drawn by the commotion, gathered outside the abandoned mill. Their skepticism turned to horrified gasps as they witnessed the monstrous creature. Denials turned to screams as the entity unleashed its full power, shadowy tendrils reaching out towards the crowd. Panic erupted. Sarah, however, found a strange calm amidst the chaos. This was her moment of truth. She channeled the entity's power, not to destroy, but to bind. Using the ancient symbols from the book, she wove an intricate web of light, pushing back the shadows. The creature roared in fury, its form flickering and weakening as Sarah's power grew. With a final, desperate push, she slammed the ritual symbol into the ground, drawing a circle of shimmering light around the entity. A blinding flash engulfed the mill, followed by an eerie silence. When the dust settled, the creature was gone. In its place lay a faint, pulsating glow, trapped within the circle of light. Exhausted but triumphant, Sarah collapsed onto the dusty floor, the whispers replaced by a comforting silence. Harmony Falls may never fully understand the events of that night, but the nightmare had ended. Sarah, battered but resolute, emerged from the abandoned mill a hero, albeit a somewhat unorthodox one. The town, forever changed, would carry the memory of the night the shadows almost engulfed them. As for Sarah, she knew that the battle for the soul of Harmony Falls might be over, but echoes of the whispering woe might forever linger in the quiet corners of her mind. Chapter 7, Whispers in the Light. The silence that followed the blinding flash felt deafening. Sarah lay sprawled on the dusty floor of the abandoned mill, her body aching, her mind reeling. Had it worked? Had she truly banished the whispering woe? Opening her eyes, she saw Thomas looming above her, his weathered face etched with concern. Relief washed over her as she saw the faint, pulsating glow contained within the circle of shimmering light. The entity, though weakened, was trapped. But the victory tasted hollow. The whispers, once a constant torment, had been replaced by a chilling emptiness, a lingering sense of unease. The line between reality and delusion blurred, Sarah unsure where the whispers ended and her own fear began. "Is it over?" she croaked, her voice hoarse. Thomas nodded, his eyes filled with a mixture of awe and exhaustion. "For now," he said, his voice gruff. "But the book warned us the whispering woe feeds on fear and doubt. It may be weakened, but it won't be easily destroyed." His words sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. The entity might be contained, but the fear it instilled lingered. Glancing at the terrified townspeople gathered outside, she saw it reflected in their wide eyes. The battle for Harmony Falls wasn't just about banishing the creature. It was about quelling the fear that threatened to consume them all. Suddenly, the faint glow within the circle pulsed violently. A chilling moan echoed through the mill, the air growing thick with an oppressive energy. The whispering woe, sensing its vulnerability, was lashing out, its power surging in one last desperate attempt to break free. Sarah stumbled to her feet, her resolve hardening. This wasn't over. She wouldn't let the whispers return, wouldn't let Harmony Falls succumb to fear. "We need to strengthen the circle," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. The book mentioned channeling positive energy. Thomas understood. Years living in Harmony Falls had instilled in him a fierce love for the town, a deep well of positive energy. He closed his eyes, focusing on the memories of laughter shared with friends, the warmth of community gatherings, the beauty of the town square in spring. Slowly, a golden light emanated from Thomas, weaving into the shimmering circle around the entity. The whispering woe shrieked, its glow flickering against the growing golden light. Sarah joined in, focusing on the support she received from Emily, the thrill of discovering the truth with Thomas, the flicker of hope that remained. The struggle was fierce, the entity's power immense. But with each surge of positive energy, the golden light grew stronger, pushing back the darkness. Sarah could feel the strain, exhaustion threatening to overtake her. Yet, she couldn't give up. The fate of Harmony Falls rested on this desperate push. Just as she felt her resolve falter, a warm hand grasped hers. It was Emily, her initial skepticism replaced by unwavering support. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as Emily joined the effort, channeling her own love for their hometown. One by one, the townspeople outside the mill, their initial fear replaced by a sense of purpose, added their voices. A chorus of hope and determination rose, weaving a vibrant tapestry of positive energy into the circle. The flickering glow of the entity grew fainter, its shrieks turning into whimpers. With a final, agonizing push, Sarah and the townspeople overwhelmed the entity. The golden light pulsed once, blindingly bright, then enveloped the trapped entity in its warm glow. The whispering woe was no more. Silence descended upon the mill, broken only by the ragged gasps of those who had participated in the fight. The air felt lighter, cleaner, the oppressive energy finally dispelled. Sarah collapsed once more, drained but triumphant. As dawn broke, casting a gentle light through the dusty windows of the abandoned mill, a sense of peace settled over Harmony Falls. The nightmare had ended, not just for Sarah, but for the entire community. The memory of the whispering woe might linger, but so would the memory of their collective bravery. a testament to the power of hope and unity in the face of fear. Chapter 8. Echoes in the Silence. Days bled into weeks. The trauma of the encounter with the whispering woe, a raw wound in the collective memory of Harmony Falls. The abandoned mill, once a neglected eyesore, became a silent monument, a chilling reminder of the night the shadows almost swallowed the town whole. Sarah, hailed as a hero, found herself an unwelcome celebrity. News crews swarmed the town, reporters clamoring for her account of the strange events. The attention was suffocating. The whispers, though silenced, had left an imprint on her mind, a constant hum of unease beneath the surface. One evening, as Sarah sat alone on her porch swing, a figure materialized from the gathering dusk. It was Thomas, his face etched with a weariness that mirrored her own. "They're calling it a mass hallucination," he said, his voice gruff. "The townsfolk are eager to move on, to pretend it never happened." Sarah understood. Harmony Falls craved normalcy, a desire she shared. Yet, a part of her knew the truth. The entity might be gone, but the scars it left were real. "Do you think it's really over?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Thomas looked at her with a sad smile. "The book didn't say," he admitted, "but it did warn us that the whispers can linger even when the source is gone." As the weeks turned into months, a subtle change crept into Harmony Falls. Laughter seemed less frequent, replaced by a watchful wariness. The late-night gatherings on porches dwindled, replaced by a retreat into the comfort of locked doors and drawn curtains. One day, while walking through the park, Sarah encountered Emily. Her friend's smile seemed strained, her eyes filled with a flicker of fear she couldn't quite mask. "Sarah," Emily began hesitantly, "do you ever hear it?" Sarah's heart lurched. Was she losing her mind? But the look on Emily's face confirmed her worst fear. The whispers, faint but persistent, had found new ears. A chilling truth settled on Sarah's shoulders. Perhaps she hadn't defeated the entity after all. Maybe she had simply driven it back, pushing it into the shadows where it could fester, waiting for an opportune moment to return. The victory, if it could be called that, had come at a cost. Harmony Falls might have been spared a monstrous entity, but the fear it instilled had taken root, turning friends into strangers and shrouding the town in a permanent twilight. As dusk settled that evening, casting long shadows across the previously vibrant streets, Sarah stood on her porch swing, the faintest whisper tickling the edges of her mind. It was just a wisp, barely discernible, but it held the chilling promise of a horror that refused to be completely vanquished. The whispers had returned, a chilling reminder that some shadows never truly leave, and the line between courage and madness in a town forever touched by the dread had become terrifyingly thin.